What's going on, guys? John Holder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, we're going to add our products to our sessions for our e-commerce website with Django and Python. All right, guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to add our products to our sessions. But before we get started, if you like this video, want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with thousands of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube50 to get 50% off lifetime memberships, all my courses, videos, and books for a one-time fee, which is insanely cheap. Okay, in the last video, we set up our basic session handling. In this video, we want to be able to add products to our sessions for each user by clicking a button. So that's what we're going to look at. And we've got a lot of stuff to get through in this video. And there's some JavaScript and JQuery and all kinds of crazy things that you may not be used to, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's head over to our code. I'm using the Sublime Text Editor in the Git Bash terminal as always. And as always, you can find a link to the code in the pinned comment section below, as well as a link to the playlist with all the other videos in this Django series. So check it out if you haven't so far. The first thing we need to do is head over to our store directory and our templates and our base.html file. And we need to add jQuery to our app. You can see we've got nothing so far. We've got some JavaScript from Bootstrap, it looks like, down here, but we actually need jQuery. So let's head over to our browser very quickly and just go to Google and type in jQuery CDN, Content Delivery Network. And it's probably going to be the first thing that pops up. It's this releases.jquery.com. And we just want the latest version and we want the minified version. And we're going to use a CDN. We're just going to reference it. We're not going to actually download jQuery into our app because that's a hassle. Nobody does that. You just use the CDN. So we can click on this minified here. And this little thing pops up. We could just go ahead and copy this to clipboard, head back over to our code. And inside of our head tag here, so just like right here, I'm just going to paste that right in. And so you can see it's jQuery 3.7.1.min.js, the minified version. If this number has changed by the time you watch this video, no big deal. Just download whatever the latest version is. You'll be fine. So, all right, go ahead and save this and close it. And we are good there. Next, let's head over to our store templates product page. And if you remember, come back over to the website. Anytime we click on one of these, for instance, this Python programming, it goes to this product page. And it has a little spiel, has the price, and has a home button. Now we need another button that's like add to cart, right? So let's go ahead and add that. So let's come down here. And the first thing we need to do before we add a button is we really need to know what product we're dealing with. And every product has a product ID. And each product ID is unique, and that allows us to identify the products. So if we come down here to the product price thing, I'm just going to type a quick line break. And let's go ID. And let's go product.id. We're probably going to take this off the screen in a bit, but just for now, I want to see, if we come back over here and hit reload, we can see this particular product has an ID of 3, and we're going to need that in just a second. So let's head back over here. Now let's create a button. So let's come down here, and you can see this is the home button, and it's just a link. Now we're going to create an actual button. So let's use a button tag. First, we want to give this a class of btn-secondary. And here, let's say add to cart. And if we save this and head back over here real quick and hit reload, boom, we got this button. It doesn't do anything yet, but at least we've got the button. Now, we need to modify this a little bit in a couple of ways. We need to, well, I guess you can give this a type of button. We don't really need to, though. But we also need to give this a value. And that value is going to be whatever this product ID is. So we can just copy this and paste that right in. That looks good. We also need to give this an ID. And the reason why we need to give it an ID is because we're going to use some JavaScript and some jQuery to get, whenever this button is clicked, to do something. And to do that, we need the button to have an ID. And I'm going to call this add cart. Call it anything you want, but when we click the button, we're adding something to the cart. So the ID makes sense. It should be add cart. So, okay, that looks good. Now, that's pretty much all we have to do for this button. So go ahead and save this. Now let's come down here to the very bottom of the screen. We've got all these line breaks. We could probably get rid of those at some point. But now we need to create some JavaScript. Let's do a couple of script tags, an opening and closing script tag. And inside of here, let's check if button pressed. Now, if you don't know JavaScript, don't worry. You don't really need to know JavaScript. I'm going to walk you through everything right here. If you want to learn JavaScript, head over to Codemy.com. I've got a great JavaScript course. Check that out if you're interested. But here we can just go $, and then let's go document, and let's go on, And then let's say click. What do we want to grab? We want to grab that add-cart ID, and we want to do something with it. We want to create a function and pass in E. Now here, let's make some space here. We need to do all kinds of stuff. So first, we need to make sure that the button was actually pressed. So let's go e.prevent default. There we go. And then after that, we need to use some AJAX. Let's go .ajax. Now, AJAX is something that allows us to send stuff to the back end of our server without refreshing the web page. Usually in Django, we just send it to a URL and refresh the page. We don't necessarily want to do that here. We just want to add something on the back end without refreshing the page. You know, for instance, add the thing to the cart, and we can use AJAX for that. So super easy. We need to write some code here. So let's come down here. Let's see here. We need a semicolon. JavaScript uses lots of semicolons. Drives me crazy as a Python guy, but that's how this is. So first we need to designate what we're doing here. So this is a type of, and what we're doing is we're posting. Just like we're filling out a form and posting it to the back end, same thing here, we're posting. And then here we need to tell it what URL we're posting it to. So that's going to be a Django URL tag. Now, what URL are we going to use? Well, if we head back over to our cart urls.py file, we have this add view, and we called it cart underscore add. So we could just copy this, and this is going to be cart add. So that looks good. Another comma there. Now, what are we going to send? We're going to send some data, and inside of here, actually right away, I'm going to put my comma so it doesn't get messed up here. First, we need the product underscore ID of the product, right? That ID we just looked at. So that is going to be $. And then whatever is in the add-cart, this thing right here, whatever this value is. So we can grab that by calling add.cart.val, and this is a function. So this val will grab, like I said, whatever value is in this button, which happens to be the product ID. And then we're going to assign it to this variable product ID. And then we'll pass that into the back end, right? So we also need a CSRF middleware token. And anytime you're using a form in Django, you have to pass a CSRF token. We do this all the time. Same thing here. So here we can just do it like this and call the CSRF underscore token. CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. It keeps hackers from hijacking your form when you submit it. And basically what we're doing here is submitting a form. There is no form. It's sort of hidden, and we're just passing the value, like we fill out a form that said product number 3 and hit submit. That's sort of what we're doing here. So finally, we need to give this an action, and this is going to be post. All right, we need a couple of more things here. We need to tell it what to do after we've done this thing, right? So let's create a function, and we're going to pass in some JSON. And here we just want to console.log whatever the JSON is. We'll do something with this later on. I'll put a comma there, but for now that'll work just fine. And then we also need to say, hey, what do we do if there's an error? Well, let's call a function, and let's pass xhr. That's an AJAX thing. Error message. And these are all sort of AJAX things, and we'll play around with these in more detail later on. So, okay, that I think looks good. Now make sure everything's lined up here. You've got your semicolons in the right place. There's a bunch of opening and closing things, so you may get messed up here. So just kind of, check the code on my GitHub repository if you get some errors in this, or just run through here and look at it again. I think we're good here. I don't see any typos offhand. Doesn't mean there isn't any because I'm really bad at typos, but I think we're good to go for now. So, okay, we've got this all set up. Now we need to create a view for this. So remember, we're calling this URL of cart underscore add. So like everything with Django, when we call that URL, there needs to be a view to back it up and do something with all this information. So let's head over to our views.py file in our cart directory. And we see, sure enough, here's that cart underscore add function. And we need to do all kinds of stuff here. So before we get into all this, we need to import some stuff. So we're going to be adding whatever they added to the cart to our cart. So we need to be able to access our cart from this page. So let's go from .cart. We want to import cart. And remember from the last video, that's just this cart.py and this cart class. So while we're here, we also need to import the products from our product model. And remember that is in our store app. Remember it's store. And if we look down here, we see this models.py. And inside of here, here's our product class. So we need to access that from here. So to do that, we go from store.models. We want to import our product model. All right, that looks good. We also need to create a JSON response. So whenever this thing gets clicked, we need to send back some JSON data saying, everything worked out correctly, right? So let's go from Django.http. We want to import JSON response. Now we also need up here in our Django shortcuts, we need to also import get _object _404. And this will allow us to look up our products. And if the product doesn't exist, it'll just return a 404 error message. Otherwise, it will return the product. So, okay, that looks good. Go ahead and save that. And now let's come down here. So in our cart function, we need to do all kinds of things. First, let's get the cart, right? So let's create a variable called cart. And this is just going to be cart. And we want to pass in the request because we always do that. And this cart, obviously, is this cart, which is our cart.py cart class. So that's that. Now let's test for post. So when we click a button, we're making a post to this function. So we need to see, hey, did they just go to the web page or are they doing anything? Are they posting? So if they're posting, we can go if request.post.get, and we want the action to equal post. Now this is lowercase post and this is uppercase post because when we're making a post from a web page, it's uppercase, right? Django understands that. But this lowercase post, remember down here in our JavaScript and our JQuery stuff, we said, hey, the action is going to be lowercase post, just so these two don't get confused, right? So this needs to be a lowercase post. So if we click that button, we're making an uppercase post with an action of a lowercase post, I guess, right? So then we need to get stuff. If we've clicked the button, what do we need to get? Well, first we need to get the product _ID. We want this to be an integer, and it's going to be the request.post.get whatever that product _ID was. And that product ID, if we go back to our product page here in our JavaScript, we said right here, this product ID is whatever value is in our add cart button, this thing right here. So this product.id from the database gets passed as this product _ID into the JQuery, into the JavaScript, onto the back end, into our post, and then we can reference it just like that. So we'll get that and we'll assign it to this variable. That looks good. So now let's look up product in the database, right? So to do that, let's create a variable called product, and this is going to equal our get object or 404 thing that we just imported. And then we want the product database, the product model that we imported up here. And what do we want from that model? Well, we want whatever the ID of our product _ID is, which is just this guy right here. In this case, this is a product ID 3. The product ID of 3 is the book Intro to Python Programming or Python Programming. So that will all sync up that way. Okay, now we need to save to a session. So we've got the product. We click the button. We know what product it is. We've looked it up in the database. We have it. Now we need to add that to the session. So let's go cart.add. And then let's set the product equal to whatever this product is. And this will return the entire product object. So remember from our models.py file, let's see, down here, inside of here, this product has all of this stuff. So we can call product.name, product.price, product.category, product.description. In our case, we're probably going to call product.name, and we're going to add that to the cart just for fun. But we're going to keep track of all these things by the ID because that's unique. So anyway, we've now added that to the cart. Now, our cart is our cart class. And remember, up here, our cart class does not have an add function. So we're going to have to create an add function real quick here. And we'll do that in just a second. But for now, we'll just leave that like that. And then finally, let's return a response. And we're going to use JSON for that. And let's create a variable called response and set that equal to the JSON response. And that is what we imported right here, that thing, right? And so inside of here, what do we want to pass? Well, let's pass a Python dictionary. Let's just say product name, a little space. And then here, let's go product.name. So this product.name, of course, is this product object. And then again, if we look up our models.py, our product has this field called name. That's what that's referencing. By calling product.name, we can get that and just send that back to the website as a JSON response. And then finally, we can just return that response by calling return response. Okay, that looks good. A lot of stuff going on here, but fairly simple stuff we've looked at in the past, looking up stuff in databases. That's pretty normal. Determining if a thing is a post or not, that's pretty normal. Okay, but now we've got this cart.add and we've added it to a session, but we don't have that add functionality. So we have to build that out real quick too. This video is getting long, but we're going to push through because this is interesting. So let's head over to our cart.py. Right here, this define init. Let's come down here and tab over so you're lined up with this define.init. You can see this line here that connects these two sort of. And let's create that add function. We want to pass in the self and we want to pass in the product. So here, let's go product_ID, and that's going to equal to our product_ID. Now, this is going to pass a number, and we probably want this as a string. I'll tell you why a little bit later when we get into some other things, but we could just convert that to a string like that, and that's fine. So now let's do some logic and say, hey, have they already added this to their cart? If so, we don't need to add it again. So let's go if product_ID is in our self.cart already. Well, let's just pass. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to add it again. Else, let's add it. So let's go self.cart, and we want to pass in our product_ID, and we want to set that equal to, what do we want? Let's keep track of the price of this thing just for fun, right? So let's go price. And again, this is going to return maybe a number, maybe a decimal, but we want to make sure it's a string for now, and we'll talk about why later. But we just want the product.price. And again, that is coming from our models.py, where we have our product.price. It's a decimal field. We're converting it into a string for reasons we'll get into later. But for now, that looks good. Finally, let's tab over and let's go self.session.modified and set that equal to true. You know, right here, if we updated our cart, we've updated our session, we've modified it, so we'll set that equal to true. So make sure this thing lines up with the if and the else statement. You can see it's all nice and lined up there. Tabs are important in Python. Okay, so we did an enormous amount of stuff in this video. Let's see, did it work? So let's head back over to the website and let's hit reload and let's add Python programming to cart. First off, I'm going to go to inspect here and let's go to network maybe, because nothing's actually going to happen on the screen yet. But if we click add to cart, you could see 403, that means I think success. I don't know. If we click on this, 403 forbidden. Oh, we got a problem there. So we're going to have to maybe look into that, maybe not. We'll see. But we can go to the console. Oh, no, we definitely got an error. So, all right, let's head over to the terminal. Let's see what happened here. CSRF token is missing. All right. I thought we added that. Let's go back to the product page and CSRF_token. Oh, misspelled token. There we go. All right. Well, that makes sense. All right. Let's try this again. Let's go hit reload and let's go to what? Network first. And we'll click add to cart. Oh, we got another problem, internal server error. Let's hit on the console. Yep, we got a problem there too. So, all right. That's how we debug all these things. So let's see. Product ID, line 18, cart. So let's head over to our cart.py file and let's see. Oh, boy. Product.id. All right, so the very first line in our add function should be product.id. So, okay, go ahead and save that. Let's head back over here, refresh this guy. Let's click this again. And okay, we got a 200. Everything looks good there. If we go to the console, we can see the object, product name, Python programming, has been returned. So everything has checked out, right? It went into the back end. It looked up that product by its ID. Number 3, it determined, hey, that's Python programming, which there's our name right there. And we should be good to go. Now, the only thing to check is, did this actually get added to a session? And we looked at how to do that in the last video. We could do that again real quick. Head back over here, Control C to break out of here. And let's go Python manage.py. Let's run the shell. And then inside of here, well, first we need our session ID. So let's go to storage and session ID. There it is. And we can just copy this guy. And I'm going to paste it up here because we just want the stuff between the quotation marks. So I'll go ahead and copy that. Right click and copy. And let's head back over here to our terminal and let's look this up and let's see if it's in there. So let's go from Django.contrib.sessions.models. We want to import our session and then let's just create any variable. I'm just going to say K for key. And let's set that equal to the session.objects.get. And we want to set the primary key equal to whatever that session is. We'll paste that in there. There we go. And then we can say k.get_decoded. And we see, sure enough, there is our session key. And it has a 3 with a price of $19.99. What is 3? Well, if we come back over here, remember our ID is 3. So it's basically saying, hey, we've got this book, Python Programming. We put the price in at $19.99. We probably didn't really need to do that. We can always look that up later, but it's always nice to have it right there so we can do some math later on. And very cool. So why does it say price $19.99? Because in our cart.py, when we added it to the session, we added the price of that with the product ID. So we have here product ID, price, and price. If we look in the console, we see product ID, price, and price. All right, seems to have worked. And that's all there is to it. Man, there's a lot going on in this video. We covered a lot of stuff very, very quickly. Watch this video a couple of times, look at the code, compare it to yours. It's easy to make mistakes as we saw going so fast like that, but that's all there is to it. Now we have the ability to add things to a session, to a cart, to keep track of it by user. If we, turned off our computer, came back later, that session would still be on our computer because it puts a cookie on our computer that is keeping track of this ID and this price. Now we can get rid of this ID thing here. If we go back to our product page real quick, scroll up here where I put this thing here. We don't really need that. We were just using that for sort of informational purposes. Hit reload. Well, our server's not running. So we can exit out of here. And then Python manage.py, run server. Then if we come back over here, hit reload, that ID is gone there, but we're good to go. So that's sessions, that's adding things to a cart. We'll play around with this more in the next video. We still need to add the ability to see that there's things in our cart and see what those things are on the cart page. Remember, we've got this shopping cart page. And we'll start to look at that in the next few videos, but we're coming right along. So that's all for this video. If you like, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube50 to get 50% off lifetime membership. So that's access to all my courses, over 60 courses, thousands of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 180,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and I'll see you in the next video.